from Willits to Pittsville. The usual volume of Walsall Switch Road and Hobbs Road. Business 50 and Business 13 in town moving along. And Route 50 good to the Bay Bridge. That's your traffic for the Voice Radio Network.
All right, 8:25. It is the Bill and Jessica Show. Good morning to everybody jumping on our Facebook Live this morning.
Good morning.
So here's this story that a lot of people were talking about. LSU versus Iowa. It was the NCAA women's basketball. Mm-hmm. LSU ended up beating Iowa 102-85. Okay, and apparently Angel Reese, was it during the game or towards the end of the game? I think there was
a minute left.
A minute left during the game or whatever. Angel Reese went over to Caitlin Clark and, was talking some trash and did the whole John Cena, you can't see me, you can't see me.
Yeah. But Caitlin Clark did that during another game.
Another game.
Yeah. So she did that.
So she was kind of like mocking her.
Yes.
Okay.
And kind of, putting it back on her on this particular game.
Well, people are going bonkers. They're going bananas, saying
I've
that.
seen memes trending, funny memes though.
She went too far, and that's not how you do, and all this. But they're really going in on Angel Reese. So that's the question. Do you think she went too far?
Well, now Caitlin Clark is coming back saying that Angel Reese should not be criticized for the taunting gestures on the court. So there was a press conference. Angel Reese's taunting of Caitlin Clark at the end of LSU's national championship victory over Iowa has been, of course, the subject of this big debate on social media since Sunday night. But now Clark is coming to the defense of Reese. With under a minute remaining in the game, Reese celebrated by turning to Clark and doing John Cena's "you can't see me" gesture before pointing at her ring finger. Clark herself broke out that same celebration against Louisville in the Elite Eight. However, Reese has received much more scrutiny for her actions. Just days after the national title game, outside the lines, defended Reese. Clark said trash talk is just part of basketball when players step between the lines.
I love all the trash talk. I know some people are like, oh.
Clark says, I don't think Angel should be criticized at all. No matter which way it goes, she should never be criticized for what she did. I'm competing. She's competing. I think everybody out there is going to talk a little trash. It's not just me and Angel. I think it became them two because Caitlin Clark did it on a previous game. You can't see me. And then she does it back to her on this game. So it made it between them two. But she says they played well. Like I said, I'm a big fan of hers. Clark went on to say that trash talk is something that draws fans to the sports. And she says that playing with emotion should always be encouraged because it adds to the entertainment value.
Again, LSU wins first national title, defeating Iowa. Here goes my man Stephen A. addressing whether Angel Reese is receiving too much backlash. When it comes down to sports, it comes down to situations like this, I always go back to see what my man Stephen A's got to say about it.
Angel Reese facing too much backlash this morning.
Yes, she absolutely is. And let me just preface by saying this. This was the most successful women's tournament by the numbers. The most watched Elite Eight games, the most watched Final Four, which we're talking about millions of viewers. History was being made left, right, and center. We all know what Caitlin Clark did. She put up the most points, the most assists, most threes in a title game, which was so impressive. But we also have to talk about what Angel Reese did. 34 double-doubles, the most in NCAA women's side in a season. That was ridiculous as well. But I think I start with that saying that this is good for the women's game. I mean, it takes some dogs to make that type of history, the history that I just articulated by the numbers. And you don't really get to be a dog and get to that platform where you get to bring a national title, the first one back to LSU, without having that type of mentality, that chip on your shoulder. And I feel like we have to let these young women be unapologetically themselves. We need to learn to embrace that side of the game because we don't discriminate when things like that happen on the other side, right? Both sides obviously did the whole "I can't see you." You mentioned it, Molly. We saw it with Haley Van Lith and.
By the way, you know who's loving this? John
Cena.
All of it.
Did you see him wrestle?
I did.
Did you see it? What'd you think?
I thought
we'll talk about that later.
I thought he
but-
looked old and bald.
Yes,
And
I know. I thought the same. It does not look like him.
Yeah, why didn't he like fix himself up
I know.
for WrestleMania?
Okay, I didn't want to say it, but I wanted to
Yeah.
make sure that somebody else had the same opinion as
Yeah.
me. All
Louisville.
right.
That's what Caitlyn did. Now, on the other side, we're seeing Angel do it, which is a part of her personality, part of the reason why she's really helped spearhead this change, this movement to athletes being unapologetically themselves. You heard what she said in the press release. This is for girls that look like me, that hoop like me, that talk like me. There's a whole subset of people that are really happy to be seen in these moments, and they're all female athletes because that's how women are. Like, I think there's this idea that we have to be cookie cutter. We have to be by the book. We have to play the game a certain way for it to be appropriate. As an athlete, you're a competitor. You can be fierce, you can be feminine, and you can go out there and finish. And I think we saw that on both ends. Iowa, what a tremendous season. LSU, what a tremendous season. Angel being herself, Caitlyn being herself. And that overall is great for the game.
Well, first of all, I don't disagree with anything that you're saying, Janae. I just think that you're being quite nice and lovely, as you always are. So leave the vitriol to me. I'll absorb it. I'll call it what it is. Ladies and gentlemen, I love Caitlin Clark. She's been a guest on this show. I think she's spectacular. I'm the one that's been calling her the Steph Curry of women's basketball, and she has done nothing to push that back. I mean, this young lady is spectacular. She's been great for women's basketball overall, not just college basketball, but women's basketball. I think she has the potential, when all is said and done, to be arguably the greatest ever, because when you have that kind of range and that kind of handle, and you can pull up from the parking lot like Steph Curry, for crying out loud, I think that's something that you can transition to the next level, and it's going to be spectacular to see, and I can't wait to see it. But here's the reality of the situation. She instigated this kind of stuff. Let's call it what it is. She was waving. She was doing the Cena. How about what she did to Raven Johnson? She didn't just go into the lane and not guard her against South Carolina in the national semifinal. She waved her off. She didn't mind being disrespectful. So why is it that we're hesitant to bring that up? See, here's what I'm saying. I'm not trying to dilute your point by any stretch, Janae, because I get where you're coming from. And as a lady, you should take that position along with Molly about how we all need to grow up and accept the fact that these women are highly competitive, they're highly gifted and skilled, and we should give them the love and respect and deference they deserve. But I'm going a step further with this. We all know that there's a white-black issue here. Because the fact of the matter is, when Caitlyn did it, people were celebrating it. And they were talking about nothing but her greatness. But then the second a sister stepped up and threw it back in her face, now you got half the basketball world saying, well, you know what? That's not the classiest thing to do.
Yeah.
That's not the way.
It was the exact same thing.
It was the exact same thing. Now, you can make an argument that if they're doing excessive celebration in her face after the game is over, all right, then you could make that argument. But you had people complaining about it when she was doing it during the game. Wait a minute. LSU told you before the game.
Yeah.
But we didn't like how she was acting towards South Carolina. She ain't going to do that against us. Correct me if I'm wrong, Janae. This is exactly what they were saying. Going into the game, they let the basketball world know, y'all think that this is going to be some storybook ending for her. Y'all must have got it twisted. We coming, and we gonna get at her. They told you before the game, then they got in the game, got all up in her in Iowa, was up by 17 at the half, and you're waving, you're doing the Cena, well, I ain't here, doing all of that other stuff, and you're bringing up what she did to the competition.
Yeah.
I'm so happy that Caitlin Clark handled it the way that she did, because in the throes of competition, she's fessing up to, listen, I ain't paying attention to that. They were getting the better of me. I was focused on the moment and the fact that I was with my teammates, but that's all she could say.
Yeah, we just saw her do it too. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Because she kind
She's
of
good.
instigated
They're all,
this.
Oh my gosh, they're good.
I don't know if you
These
guys
ladies
have
are
watched
good.
NCAA women's, over the past few weeks. They had some
Gosh.
good games. They've been I watched them this weekend. Really, really good games.
Wow.
Man,
So
I'm going to start
talented.
watching
We need to watch them more.
women's basketball.
Yeah.
Yes. This is I think
I
what
think they
women's
needed
basketball
They
needed.
this, right?
Yeah, needed stuff like this. They need an Angel Reese. Yes, they needed Caitlin
Wow.
Clark. So, shout out to the women's basketball, man. Awesome.
Yeah.
So, cares.
I like it all.
Yeah.
I do.
And I know, like, as you're
And it's
younger,
like, you know,
they don't
you're-
like the
you're
taunting.
competitive. Yeah.
You know, like my son plays, he's 13. I don't know if,
Right.
you know,
It's a little different with the, young ones. And the
But-
kids.
I do love all the trash talk.
Yeah.
I do love the trash talk. Parents are the ones that
Ooh.
get a little crazy.
No, Bill is the one that gets a little crazy.
So, I'm just saying. But what do you guys think? What's your opinion? Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark. And have you been watching women's basketball? It's been great. So, 249 checking in. Yeah, I agree with he's saying. Everything turns to racism and it's sick. Yeah, I mean, why is it okay when one does it and not the other? You know? It is kind of funny how it works out that way, isn't it? Not funny, just sad, just crazy. Caitlin does it, all of a sudden it's like, oh, trash talk. Angel Reese does it, now all of a sudden it's something.
Like classless
Yeah.
and things like that. Yeah.
So, 8:36, it's the Bill and Jessica show. We got a 47 ABC update coming up.
More hits coming up.
Does your home